Diane, I'm listening to a podcast, Black Lodge Trivia Night. I've never heard so many game aspirations in my life. All right, I guess we'll get started. I gotta remember to look this way and not up there. All right, here we go. All right, welcome back to Black Lodge Trivia Night. Matt, how are you doing?
I'm doing just fine, sir. How are you doing, Art?
I'm doing okay, and we're going to speak for Patrick. How do we think Patrick's doing right now?
Patrick is...
It's his birthday,
It is his birthday.
Yeah.
So, you know what? He's having a grand old time at Olive Garden, I'm sure.
That's right. There's some BOGO deal going on with drinks and apps, and he's all over it, baby. Very nice. All right. So here we're back. Tonight's game, you can see, is Vaesen. We're going to get back into that. In the last session, basically, Matt, it's been a little bit. Do you want to introduce your character one more time?
Yeah, absolutely. So I am playing Ernest Anderson. And Ernest Anderson is a writer. He's in his late 20s.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know why I can't pull my... There we go. And he is a survivor of the Sunval fire.
That's right.
He was saved by a man who was able to drag him, but the rest of his family perished. In his kind of moment of first seeing his vision of seeing the Vaesen was a fire spirit who actually lived in the family's hearth and kind of scattered about. And he just had a very interesting interaction and introduction to the society. He's very eager for it. He wants an understanding of the Vaesen. He's not a hunter or anything. He wants to write about them, understand them, interact with them, all of those things. He's a little bit superstitious. He believes in the old ways, thanks to his mother, who instilled you leave scraps of bread for the hearth Vaesen. You do the salt over your shoulder, and you drop extra seeds on the edge of your allotment and all those things, and he still maintains those practices. So he's superstitious, he's eager, and he wants to learn.
Very nice. And like Matt said, the first session was basically introducing the character and then sort of introducing your character, Ernest, to the idea of what is it called, the Thursday's Children or something.
Yeah.
And so, it was just a very role playing heavy introduction to this group. You met Algot Frisk, who is the butler at the house. You met, is her name Lenia, I think?
Was she who gave me the keys to the society?
Yeah, well, she gave you a tooth.
Oh, yeah.
And you thought that was, right, yeah, and you was like, oh, that's an interesting key. And then the person who gave it to Algot was like, ooh, she is really off her rocker, as much as I
I forgot about that, but now that you mention it,
yeah.
I don't have pen or paper, which is not normally the case, so I will probably ask those names several times tonight.
Yeah, and I think I wrote a lot of them down.
Oh, you know what, this is a note session.
It does.
What was her name?
Her name was I think it was Lenia, Lennea. I think it's something like that.
Okay, and what was the butler's name?
The butler's name is Algot. He might still be in the journal, which is the series of roles, Algot Frisk. I will say, this game makes it very easy to take notes. And
then Astrid Hansdaughter was the
maid at
and
the
then
house.
Gertron Osberg was the other kind of...
Yeah, he's sort of like a guy that helps out running errands, and you found out he specifically does have the sight, which is when you can see elements, the otherworldly elements. Algot Frisk and Astrid Hansdaughter do not.
Okay.
But they all sort of feel like a real debt of gratitude to Lenia for one reason or another, and that's why they help out here.
And remind me, Burton Guster. It's like Gerton, he is not like an agent or not someone in the field. He just helps the society.
He's like a servant to the society, but he runs out, he does errands, to get a little bit behind the curtain. He's got some close combat, he's got some force, so he's got a little bit of medicine, so he can sort of like a jack of all trades kind of helper.
He's like an Agent Coulson.
Yes, yep. That's a good way to put it. So yeah, I mean, he could do stuff, but basically at the moment there's only these 3, so they're not really. And you got to look around the Order's house. You went to the library, looked up some stuff there. I was very much a introducing you to like the Hall of Justice, that could be.
Absolutely.
But I think we're getting a little ahead of ourselves because I'm not usually the one who does this. There's other business that we need to take care of before we get into the meat of the adventure, and that is trivia.
Yes, and you know what? Since you're GMing tonight, let me do this.
All right.
For you. What was the name? And this may be too easy because we talked about it today. What was the name of the task force in the FBI for investigating paranormal cases?
It's it's the Blue Rose, or the Blue Rose cases, but
it's both. You got it. So Blue Rose cases, and then it was also I guess the task force was a Blue Rose task force, meaning investigated. They didn't have a name like we're the Blue Rose. See, I knew I talked about it today, and I was going to make it too easy. You may have also known, but
I think I did because I think it came up once in one of the other trivia questions.
Oh, whoops!
No, it wasn't the question itself. I don't believe. I think it came up when we were talking about an answer. Because we were talking about Fire Walk with Me. I just want to say, not off topic entirely. I was chatting with my brother, and we talk about different things. And you and I were talking about in one of the Damn Fine Coffees, the show Millennium came up.
Yeah.
And then you found Anyway, my brother started a watch of Twin Peaks.
Love it.
And he was like, "Yeah, I didn't realize how little I had seen the first time," and so now he's gotten through the answer to the main mystery. He's starting to get into James on his motorcycle.
Yes.
Duchovny showed up. He's one of the best parts of the second season.
Amazing. That's when season 2 really kicks off.
Yeah. So we started talking about Josie, and he's like, it's like I just don't know why she's in the show anymore. They have all these like weird subplots, and he's like, if they had started some of these weird subplots while the Laura thing was still going, it wouldn't have felt so abrupt.
Right.
Like they just were doing a hard switch. And then I was like, I'll be curious to see how what you think of Josie's storyline, how it resolves. And he's like, do they figure out something to do with her? I'm like, kind of. I'm not going to spoil it, but I'm just like, I know you just said, like, the only thing I'll say is you won't see it coming.
Yeah, right. They really shut the door on the Josie storyline.
Yeah, they turned that. I think Shut the Door is probably the best one we're going to get out of. I was about to try for one. I'm like, no, I think Shut the Door is good.
Yeah, you'll get a handle on it.
Oh, God damn it. You're 2-0 here, and I'm just...
that second one was kind of weak, but
no,
that's amazing. You get like a 2 a.m. text, and you're just like, a fucking doorknob? They put her on a doorknob?
Right, I'll be curious to see what he thinks. I'm going to hopefully talk to him this weekend and see if he got there. So there you go. Yeah, not bad. That was a good trivia. I like the idea of the Blue Rose cases. And to... maybe tease a little bit of future something. You discovered that the Blue Rose has some wider ranging application. I don't know what the right word is.
So a little. So naturally, Art and I on the last Damn Fine Coffee talked about a certain case file for Fall of Delta Green, which then of course just sprung me into like consuming Delta Green as one does.
It's like a contrail, like going down a rabbit hole. I love it.
Exactly. It's exactly what it was. And so now I've acquired, like, I'm rereading some Delta Green stuff, and then it's really interesting that the fact that you have this agency Delta Green, and then at some point in the 90s it splinters. So it falls in the 70s, and then it splinters off. But some of the time period stuff like lines up with Twin Peaks development of Project Blue, which was founded by Gordon Cole, and eventually like Project Blue gets shut down, just like Delta Green gets shut down. And then sometime around the same period, FBI like starts the Blue Rose Task Force, which is Gordon Cole, a continuation of Project Blue. And then around this same time, Delta Green does its kind of like split. And so my point is Delta Green has always linked itself to the idea of me of being something like Twin Peaks. And then one of the authors from a book responded to a thread where he's like, hey, I wrote this whole section. I think it would work really well for the plans of like doing a Twin Peaks thing. I was like, brilliant. So then I started to just happen to look like I was reading the wiki about blue rose cases and stuff. I was like, oh, this is what I want out of Delta Green anyways.
Nice.
Like,
oh, that's awesome.
A blend of Twin Peaks and season 1 of True Detective would be amazing. And guess what? Someone has written a very well-regarded free fan scenario that does season 1 of True Detective. Like you're like a Delta Green version of it.
Pass. What else? What else you got?
I could not be less interested.
Yeah. Okay. I heard that pitch. What else? No. It's Pretty Woman meets Jaws.
Nice.
Twin Peaks meets True Detective.
Yeah.
Haven't I seen that? No, that sounds awesome. And this is going to be run with True Delta Green, or is it going to be Gumshoe, Fall of Delta Green?
So here's my like bold strategy is like somehow tell a story that brings in. So I really want to do the Borealis report or whatever, the new Fall of Delta Green thing, because the missions in there sound amazing.
Oh, right.
Those are like an overarching Fall of Delta Green. So like you do some of that, you get your fill of Fall of Delta Green playing around in the 60s, and then like transition the campaign, however much like, you know, we've always talked about take breaks, whatever. Transition the campaign into Twin Peaks meets True Detective. Meaning you have like the quirky vibes and the characters, which are so important to Twin Peaks, but then you get into late season 2 stuff and Firewalk with Me stuff, which is that's where the True Detective hits, because then you're starting to deal with, you know, the Black Lodge and all those things. It takes a very serious, very otherworldly tone, much like True Detective season 1 alludes to. And so that would be like really cool to have like this transition, and then all at the same time exploring the lore behind, like somehow weave it into the bigger Delta Green story.
Nice.
Because there's like 2 factions in Delta Green in like current day, which is interesting.
That's very cool. I like to say that sounds amazing on 2 different levels. One, I love the ambition of it. I love that idea of like, you know, because I think that's sort of the idea of Twin Peaks and the Delta Green overarching story, is that it's not just something that's happened now. It's I don't know if conspiracy is the right word, but it's something that goes back decades.
Yeah.
And, you know, if you've seen the 3rd season of Twin Peaks, you know, part of it involves Alamo, the testing of the nuclear bombs. I'm forgetting my watching of the movie Oppenheimer to know my history. You know, it's a place in New Mexico.
Roswell?
Roswell. No, Roswell's
aliens.
The aliens. But it's but yeah, like it involves the testing of the nuclear bomb. So like the idea of Black Lodge, White Lodge, it's not just something that happened in a town in Washington. It's like this whole mythology. And I feel like Fall of Delta Green and Delta Green, I don't know if they're connected very much.
They are.
Overall.
They were.
Okay. I feel like that's a real mythology. Like you were saying, like there's a fall of Delta Green in 1970. I feel like the Gumshoe game leads up to that, right?
Yeah.
And
so real quick, I Googled it. Los Alamos.
Los Alamos. That's not Alamo. Alamos.
Yes. And so what I didn't know, and this is all new to me, and our listeners are probably like, well, duh. Pelgrane Press worked with Arc Dream Publishing. Like they acknowledge each other. It's not like some splinter like, oh, we're going to make a better Delta Green.
Oh,
like Arc Dream acknowledges, and I think in the Kickstarter for the new printing of Delta Green, I think you could back and get Fall of Delta Green. Like it is, they acknowledge each other. It's used under Arc Dream's publishing, all that stuff. And so it'll be really interesting. They just gave a status update today. Not to spend too much time on this, that they're working on the operational history of Delta Green. And the cool thing is like, and this is way back from when they started the Kickstarter, like this was on their roadmap of things they were going to do. It was just going to be like a little PDF, because there's Delta Green books, which I've of course ordered by now, like fiction. But now they're doing like, okay, here's the history of Delta Green. And I guess it's gone from like a short PDF to like, now they're doing the art and building like this big hardcover for like a full in-depth history.
Nice.
And I think it would be really cool, and it is very ambitious. Like, okay, you're playing an agent in the 60s. Whatever happens to him, in my mind, how cool is it potentially if your agent in the 90s has a weird like Control the video game-esque experience where like you like flash back and you're in an experience of that past agent, or like Agent Cooper, like it's like they flash back and he's in the room with the design. Why can't I think of the name? The black and white stripes.
Yeah.
But it's like Agent Cooper today, but it's also him like I was like, you could do some really cool trippy things with the player characters as callbacks to, and have this big, really mysterious conspiracy. I think the plot like really lends itself to cool. At the same time, you can also just go do a wild expedition in Laos, like you can do Vietnam meets Call of Cthulhu, and like the stuff is there for it.
Nice. Oh, well,
anyway.
Yeah, I mean, some of that's going to be coming, I don't want to say like in the near future, but I think in our sort of, because Patrick's not always here, that's what might be on deck in our sort of one-on-one sessions, right?
Yes. Yep.
That's going to be awesome.
Absolutely.
Okay. Very nice. Okay.
Sorry about that detour, but I think it'll be cool. And it's when something really gets me honked up, it's hard to like detour from it. And so once you start me talking about it, then like I want to share like the grand ideas, because nothing is better than like when you have like the players buy in. Like if everyone's on board, it's like, oh shit, yeah, like I really want to tell a Jaws meets Pretty Woman story, and then the players are like, oh my gosh, that'd be so sick, and then we can throw in like Gargoyles the movie too, and it's like, let's do that. Then like that's the best feeling, whether you get the rules right 100% of the time or not. Like I don't care, like, or your accent's on point, doesn't matter, but like when everyone's in and like, oh, that's amazing, that's awesome. So
nice. Well, speaking of accents not on point and not getting the rules right, should we give this a shot?
Work.
I just want to say, for the people watching on the YouTubes, I'm not in my normal location. Send help. I'm going to blink Morse code with my eyes, all those proof of life kind of stuff. I've just been displaced a little bit. This is actually the other thing that Matt and I are into, are, war games. So you can see I'm down where I usually might get into those. So anyway. All right. So Vaesen. Now, we talked about some of the things that happened in the last episode, but what the actual final thing that happened in the last episode is you spent the night at the Order's sort of headquarters. And in the morning, there was a knock on the door, and there was a message waiting for you. Well, not specifically for you, but there was just a message waiting from an Olas Clout, I think is his name.
Okay.
And he left a message, and I'm trying to find the invitation.
So, okay.
Yeah, so, I think we can start pulling it up. I'm trying to think of where it might be. Scenes. So this is one of the things, we got to remember, like, we got to go to the right scene so that you can get the right handouts. And so I think, or maybe you don't. Here's the note from Olaus Clint. I'm going to see if I can share this. I'm going to share it with Matt. Okay, and then I check that. And let's see if that shares.
Oh, I have it. I think I had it.
Oh, you have it. Okay, so you can just open it. Yeah, so if you remember, this was the note that was left, and basically introduces the idea that someone's putting on a shadow play. And
Which cat in? I think I read this last time, right?
Yeah, you read it out loud. And the important thing to recall is that, somebody's going to put this shadow play on at the Witch Cat Inn. And then at the bottom, in different handwriting, assuming from Olaus Clint, am I getting that name right? Is a note that says, "Meet me tonight at the Witch Cat Inn." Olaus. Yeah, Olaus Clint.
Yeah.
So that is... Yeah, so you've been sort of summoned to this inn. Now, if you go to tactical mode, there should be like a sort of a stack. Yeah, and if you want to go to like the journey map, because you can get an idea of where, you're in Uppsala, and the Witch Cat Inn is
okay.
about a 3.5-hour wagon ride to the south.
A 3-hour tour. 3-hour tour.
And so you sort of have an idea. So to meet him there in the evening, you probably wouldn't have to leave until like a couple hours past lunch. So you're going to have the morning. Now. Well, what I was about to say is...
just kidding.
Oh, God, I'm not ready. One of the things...
I like to arrive early.
Very early. One of the things about Vaesen is that you can take actions before your journey in order to gain something called an advantage. Mm-hmm. Now, an advantage in Vaesen is basically a thing that if you take actions leading up to the adventure to gain an advantage, it's sort of like you pick I get an advantage for combat because I've looked up what this Vaesen is weak to, something like that.
Yeah.
You can get a couple of dice bonus to a roll, and you get to use that advantage once per session.
Yep.
So now you have a chance to spend some time. Like you have, Olas Clint obviously is probably located here in Uppsala. You have the library, in the in the Justice League here that you could probably do some research. You could probably do research. You could go talk to Linnea again. See
Can
if
we
she
call
knows
it the
anything.
Justice Society, because there is a Justice League and Justice Society, and for the Society, can we at least
Oh, is there a Justice Society in the comics?
Pretty sure.
I'll go with it. Yeah, Justice Society. Yeah.
Yeah, Justice Society has like Birdman and stuff.
Oh, right. It's
JSA.
Yes, you're right. It's the other properties.
No, it's the same thing.
Yeah, no, it's all DC.
Yeah, right. Okay. So I won't call on Olas because I feel like that'd be rude. Like, hey, want to get together tonight? Sure, I'll stop by your house 12 hours in advance.
Right.
This is curious. Does the name of the inn mean anything to me?
Off the top of your head, no. But do you want to do some research about it?
I probably will. I do have a couple of questions for you before we dive into that.
Sure.
Does the invitation, just so I'm clear, he says, meet me at the Witch Cat Inn at 10. Am I assuming that is when the play begins?
It's hard to say. It doesn't,
because the invitation doesn't say.
It doesn't say. It's just that he wants you to meet tonight. Yeah. So the invitation's a little vague, I guess. So yeah, you don't actually know off the top of your head when the play is scheduled to be.
Okay. So I'd like to head to the library.
Okay.
And I would like to maybe do some research on shadow plays.
Okay.
And then also maybe Oscar Hjort, who is that's the story of the play. So I don't think I have a title for the play, but it says follow Oscar Hjort's encounter with the Black One. I'd probably also look up Black One, or obviously there's not a computer, but probably spend a good chunk of time flipping through, see if I can find any references, an enchanted flute or anything like that.
Yeah. Okay. Let's start checking some alchemy dice. So what we want to do is give me a learning test.
Okay. Very good.
And see how we do. Okay. One success. Nice.
Hey, look at that.
Yeah. So what was what were you researching first? Were you researching?
Let's do Black One.
Black One. Okay. So that's, let me see.
Or just the contents of the play, which were
specifically about Oscar Hjort.
Oscar Hjort's encounter with the Black One.
Okay. So yeah, so you start doing some research in the local library, and what you find is, so apologies, I'm going to be referencing for the viewers the book a little bit more closely than usual. Usually I have stuff up in front of me, and I'm going to keep hitting my mic. So what you do is you start to research Oscar. You just pronounced Hjort. How did you say that?
Hjort.
Short? Okay.
Hjort.
Hjort.
That's my Scandinavian heritage coming through. I don't have no idea if it's right or not.
Hjort is not correct, so I'm going to go with Hjort. Hey, Jort. Don't let
Where'd you get those jorts?
Sad. Where'd you get the jorts? Take a sad song and make them jort. Okay. Can we get sued by the beat? No, like anyway.
No, yeah.
Fair use. If I say it out loud, right? That counts. You know how this works. Okay. So yeah, what you do is you research the Black One, Oscar Huort, and what you realize is that you find his name on a list of society members who lived. Well, it's not like a birth death kind of thing, but you see his name in records pertaining to the society from about 50 years or so ago.
So this could very well be a potential story about like society encounter. Like someone has dramatized potentially a society encounter with a Vaesen.
You solved it. We can stop. You want to get ready? No, I'm kidding. No. Yes, keep going. Sorry.
No, so maybe unless there's more to tell me about this, I would maybe see like, do we have access to Oscar's journals, and could I maybe dive in? I'm just curious, what is what one, do I even care about this play? Like, who's directing it? Who's the lead? Why is this? This is even on ACTUAL. I have to go to off Broadway for this garbage.
Off Broadway.
Yeah, right.
So what you learn. So let's say there are some diaries, some journals of Oscar Huort's, and you learn that let's see, he worked as a writer. He spent some time in Paris studying under Francois Dominique Séraphin, a famous artist who put on shadow plays for the court of Versailles and the Palais Royal.
I'll write down shadow plays and underline it.
Yeah, nice.
Question mark.
Sexy results, triple underline. So you learn that yes, he was an artist. He studied in Paris, and yes, he did shadow plays as part of his art.
And I'm familiar with what a shadow play is. All right, I'm not a simpleton, but for the listeners,
for the listeners, I'm going to roll another learning skill check, and then we can fill in. You probably
I'm definitely googling what a shadow play is right now, but
you can research it in the game if you want. You definitely have a basic understanding of what it is, but
I want to know my assumption was shadow puppets behind a screen or something like that, but I'm more, and if I can research that in the game, I would like to, but also I want to know is there a nefarious, I mean, I'm eager, I want to learn, I know things aren't right, but I'm also day one you get an invitation from a stranger. I don't want to walk into a cult thing,
Right, exactly. I mean, do you want to do a little more research here in the library, or do you want to
focusing on any kind of I want to focus on anything Oscar wrote about this quote unquote Black One.
Okay.
Anything else I could find just in general, if there's a Vaesen encyclopedia about the Black One, and then any Vaesen specific knowledge about shadow plays, meaning do they have rumors or superstitions about shadow plays?
Okay. Give me another learning roll.
Okay.
Okay. Is that something you want to push and take on a condition?
No, and that is one thing I an Alien. Just a real quick aside, you just push, you take on some stress, and I can justify that, right? Ernest is oh man, this is my first day. I really want to find some stuff out. So maybe he's just been locked in the library for 8 hours, so he gets stressed out. It feels different to me to take a lasting something really I don't know, a stress die feels different than a lasting mental effect.
Right.
So no, I will not push.
Okay. So maybe the library in the order does not have the society does not have information about shadow plays.
Okay.
And nothing about the Black One. You're not seeing that in the records either.
So I don't okay. That's too bad. I was gonna come prepared. Just in case, what did this place something, but very good. Well, I will kind of jot some notes down about Oscar. And maybe if one of his journals are there, just for the fun of it, I'll pocket one, I'll check it out. and
Okay.
just read it, for the carriage ride.
Okay. You know what? Let me see something.
Sure.
You said you're grabbing one of his journals. Give me a, as much as we spend time going like, I don't know if Call of Cthulhu is always the right. I'm like, is there a goddamn luck roll in this? No. Give me another learning roll. One
Luck
last
is a beautiful roll. Like, it's just so good for so many things. Like, how long does that taxi take to get there?
Right. Oh, nice.
2 successes.
2 successes. Very good. So what you do is you get a little lucky. So, you grab one of his journals.
Okay.
And one of his journals says, it's actually one of his last journal entries. He mentions that he's heading to the Witch Cat Inn for a meeting with 2 people. One man named Albert Rendenheim and a Hilmer Coca-Cola.
Helmer Coca-Cola.
Helmer Coca-Cola, yes. Coke Zero
And
Spice.
Albert.
So the first name is Halbert Riedenheimer, Wredenhie.
I don't need that. I just need the phonetics.
Yeah, Albert Rendenhelm.
If you would like admittance, you must spell Halbert Riedenheimer's name. Son of a bitch.
So we'll call him Albert. And then the other person's name is Hilmer Kokola. Coca-Cola.
All right. So last journal entry of Oscar.
Yeah, mentions actually going to the Witch Cat Inn to meet these 2 people who he, knows are sort of higher level members of the society.
Oh, so they were society members.
Yes. And you're starting to get this sort of idea that Oscar might have been lower on the totem pole.
Okay.
So to speak.
Without spending too much time in the library,
Mhm.
What can I find out about the Black Cat Inn? Any like newspaper clippings or?
Give me one more learning roll. I don't know if this is the way you're supposed to do it, or do we just let the one learning roll count for everything, or is it per? Oh, you get another 2 successes. So what you learn about the Witch Cat Inn is that it was often used as like a society meeting place.
Okay.
Because its owner, Piri Harjula, was a Thursday's child. So he was
that's like early society stuff.
Yes, Pyri, Piri Harjula. And so he would sort of, let the society use the inn as a meeting place for like more secret meetings outside of the city.
And sorry if you said this was. Have I confirmed that Olas was a member of the society?
Olas Clint, you don't know anything about him.
Yep. Okay, and anything in the records? Again, it would probably be pretty hard if I don't see it in Oscar's journal. It would probably be pretty hard to find like an obscure mention of Olas Clint.
So definitely nothing about Olas Clint. What maybe in this case, like Gertun, is it Gertun? Yeah. He, mentions like, he's sort of like a private detective here in Uppsala. He knows him a little bit. And he tells you like, I've seen him around. And, when you mention like, 50 years ago, Gerturn's sort of like, no, he's too young. He's like, he's younger than me by a decade or so.
No, did Olas have an interaction 50 years ago?
No, it was Oscar. If I misspoke, it was Oscar.
No. That's what I thought. I'm just clarifying. Okay, interesting. Very good. So Arnis will spend some time journaling and doing a preliminary sketch in his journal, like of a little. I don't know. He's like a column oriented, so he writes a column and just jots his stuff down. He's not concerned or scared, but he is intrigued. Like, is this typical? He's a little excited. Like, ooh, my first society meeting.
Nice. So what I want to do really quickly is I'm going to just look up advantage really quickly, because you've done a number of things to gain an advantage, and I just want to make sure. You can use your advantage to increase your chance of success. The GM must be able to explain what makes it helpful. I'm wondering if it's something that you just say like, hey, based on the research I did, you just call it out when you want to use it. I don't think it's something you have to jot down. Just as advantages are specific to each mystery, that makes sense. So yeah, I guess we're just going to say you have an advantage, and then we'll figure out narratively how that works when the time comes.
Yeah, I thought I talked about it at one point, like a little more in detail, like how you gain those. But
That's what I was trying. It's on. I found it on page 42 of the
right,
book.
so was I, but I think they talk about it somewhere else. But anyways,
Okay.
it's not.
Mechanically, it gets you 2 extra dice on a roll, but yeah. So, but you can't use it if you've already failed a test, so you don't get to use it on a push. I don't think. So there we go. So yeah, you sort of done some research. You found out about Oscar's history. You found out that he was a member of the society. That his last journal entry was about 50 years ago on his way to the inn. And you learned a little bit about Olas, that he's like a private detective here in Uppsala. And he's far too young to have been involved in the goings-on mentioned in the journal.
Okay.
Yeah, so with that, is there anything else you wanted to do here in town? Or were you ready to start making your way?
I don't think so, just because, again, I think it would be rude to call on him.
Okay. Let's see. Very nice. Okay, so what we'll do is, you'll say you spend the morning in the library, doing some research, and
Okay, sorry, just real quick.
Sure.
So the real spot for advantages is on page 24.
Oh, okay.
So it must be a typo. So on the way to your mystery, you'll be able to gain an advantage. Might be a new acquaintance, a mystery experience that gives you power, or you're maintaining or training with your weapons on the way to the location. You could be bonding with another player character, which will help you later. So maybe I'll also, just to like really, gamify this.
Mm-hmm.
Ernest does tuck away a little. Where's my inventory? Oh, equipment. It's over here. I have a pistol.
Okay.
So I'll like prep it and tuck it somewhere on my person. And
Nice.
Just get it ready. And then I spend 30 minutes playing with my dog.
Very nice.
I have.
All right. Okay, so that's your prep. That's how you get ready. And then, when the time comes, I'm kind of curious, do your notes translate to my notes, or is it all... Nope. Okay, I think we get our individual notes. So yeah, at some point Astrid comes in and says, if you want some lunch, we can... There's sausages and things in the dining room, and
I'd love to meet the chef, the Swedish chef.
And what does the Swedish chef sound like?
Work.
Accurate. Okay, so yeah, no, they're actually... I'm trying to figure out. I have a feeling that like there's no chef like on staff, so to speak. It's just the three of you. I imagine. Do you think like Algit makes the food, or do you think Astrid makes the food and then presents it as the castle maid?
No, there's probably... I bet Algit makes it. You ever read The Rivers of London?
No. Is it any good?
Yeah, I like it. I mean, it's just kind of like pulpy, fun, modern day magic murder mysteries. But like,
cool.
there's a... I wouldn't describe him as a ghost, but there's like this otherworldly housemaid, and she like always cooks. And it's like, it'd be cool if we had like her name's Molly in the books. It'd be cool if we had a Molly who was just like a Vaesen who made us elaborate meals for every single meal. Although like some days you come down, it's like, oh yeah, it's liverwurst. But then like other days it's like stroganoff or something. I don't know.
Oh, nice. All right. But yeah, so yeah, some sausage and...
Oh, so we don't have Molly. Great.
No, I don't know if there should be a Vaesen. Based on what I've read about the Vaesen, I don't know if they would
be a chef
directly. Yeah. Hey, you know where I get some weed? Talking to the kitchen staff at like a cheesecake factory.
Oh, we have a Vaesen busboy and a Vaesen cobbler. If you need your shoes repaired, he's on site all day.
Okay, so...
But I know we can do base building, so obviously the first improvement I'm going to do is bring on a full-time chef.
Yeah, I think I wonder
Yeah,
if that
like
is.
there's definitely society-based building rules.
Definitely, yeah.
Yeah,
And
so we'll be hiring a chef.
nice. All right. So you take your lunch created by Mr. Frisk, and disappointingly not made by a pixie or a wisp. And so you get your food, and then oops, hold on. So then like Gertrude's like, whenever you're ready, and you can see he's sort of got some things packed, and he's got like he's loading up a small trunk, like not a huge trunk, but like a tiny trunk into like a shelf on a wagon that's waiting outside for you. Yeah. So if you're ready to continue, we will start the journey.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, here we go.
You know what? Can I? Let's say I bring my dog. Like, well, is someone gonna wait in the carriage, or did I hire a carriage?
It's sort of like getting a taxi cab. It's not your carriage. It's
I won't bring the dog then.
Okay. All right. It is fall when you leave Uppsala in a coach heading south, and there is a terrible storm raging. Black clouds blanket the sky with the wind howling and rain and hail pouring down, leaving you soaked to the skin. Lightning cracks across the sky and thunder makes the horses rear and whinny, but the coachman drives them on with his whip. The journey takes 3.5 hours, and the storm grows increasingly violent as you progress. Through the coach window, you see Lake Malar in the west, its foaming waves splashing against the shoreline. Traveling through a pine forest, you see tall trees being knocked to the ground by tempestuous winds or split by lightning strikes. In the flashes of lightning, you see large rocks among the trees, moss-covered lumps staring back at you. Suddenly, the Witch Cat Inn appears at a T-junction surrounded by woods. With Lake Malar to the north and west, it seems to be the only building around. The coachman is eager to drop you off and continue on his route south to Sigtuna. Halfway between the inn and the small community in the distance, you see a lonely church tower protruding from the trees. So, let's see, did I, what I should have done? I probably should have, let me see what this would have been.
Oh.
So you get to, I forgot I did this. So this should have been up while I was, just pretend this was up the whole time I was reading. But so you get to like a T-junction in the road, and
oh nice. Now the music and ambience. Yeah.
Oh nice. There we go.
I don't know if that's too loud on your end. I can turn that.
Oh no, it's okay. I will say this. We've in one of the last ones, I mentioned a guy who does videos, Raldanash, who talked about using Vaesen for Call of Cthulhu. He was doing some stuff about the new Coriolis in Alchemy, and he was talking, and we were talking about this off mic, how you can get some of these animated backgrounds into Foundry from Alchemy. I don't know how to do it yet. And he made an interesting point. He's like, I think I would rather have the flexibility of Foundry with the ability to add the prettiness.
Oh, for sure.
Than to have the prettiness of Alchemy, but without the ability to add the flexibility.
Agreed.
And I thought that was really interesting, and all of a sudden it made me Alchemy's a sunk cost. I already bought it. Moving on. But I appreciated that take. He's like, you can make, if what you're after is pretty, you can make Foundry pretty, and you can make it just as pretty as Alchemy.
Right.
But what Alchemy will never give you is all the back end flexibility. Title of my sub-state.
Never say never though, because Roll20 has made some improvements. I wouldn't switch to it, but they'll learn. They're early.
Right. That's the thing. This is still early, but I thought that was an interesting breakdown of. Anyway. So that's the journey. So when you arrive to Witch Cat Inn, let me see if I've got. So when you arrive to the Witch Cat Inn, the thunderstorm is at its peak. The harsh winds. What's that?
I'm just thinking about how I just played that scary ass mission on Vampire. It's like, oh great, here I go, another creepy ass hotel. My favorite thing.
But this is in SoCal. into the 405.
Right, it's even worse. Are you kidding me?
Right.
Love it. I love these vibes.
So yeah, so you arrive at the Witch Cat Inn, and like I said, it's the worst part of the thunderstorm. You're soaked to the skin, and you see the Witch Cat Inn, but surrounding it though, you're not sure what to make of it. There's like a sort of like a collapsed, like an old conservatory, but it's collapsed. You see like sort of like a there is a stable, and you see inside the stable there's like a couple of horses and wagons. There might be room for one more, but even that's in disrepair. There's like a I'm trying to think what it's called. I don't know if it's like literally, yeah, it's a root cellar. You see like a little mound that you make out to be like a root cellar, but that seems like the doors to that are in disrepair. Everything, like like I said, one building is actually fallen down. The Witch Cat Inn itself looks like it's in rough shape too, but at least it's standing, and it seems like it has to be better than this blistering cold storm that you're standing out in at the moment.
Coachman,
He's gone.
Yeah. So I will go ahead and just maybe fiat if you're okay with it. Like I did pack a small overnight bag, perhaps, because it's 10 o'clock at night, and who schedules a meeting at 10 o'clock at night?
Right.
So he he pulls the collar up on his overcoat, and he adjusts, and he just runs his hands down, and it's just like a torrent of water comes off his body. And seeing that no one is coming out to greet him in the rain to take his bags, I will step forward to the main door to hopefully get out of this cold.
All right.
And damp.
So yeah, as you start to approach the door, it's like I said, it's super dark out. You see off to the side, maybe near the stables, like the flare of like a cigarette. And then as, lightning strikes and it illuminates, there's a figure standing over there, smoking. And Gertrude kind of looks over, and he sort of squints through the rain. He goes, I think that's Olas.
Oh shit, is Gertrude with me? I missed that.
Oh yeah. You guys are going to sort of travel together as a team.
Very good. Okay.
Yeah, he's like your Watson to your...
He's my Burton Guster.
Yes.
And before I was just about maybe to knock on the door, and when he says that, I take a step back into the rain and I look up. Do I hear any, before I address that, do I hear any noise through the door, and is there any candlelight or firelight coming out from this base?
Yeah, so let's say that you definitely see, something's illuminated inside.
Okay.
So, yeah. If you want to give me a... what would the skill be?
Maybe observation.
Yeah, is there an observation skill? Give me a roll for that.
Oh wait, observation. Is that the right thing?
Let me see.
I mean, it's definitely a skill. I don't actually remember. That might be human observation.
I was about to say it might be that. It might be investigation.
Okay. Sure.
Which is under logic.
Investigation. Nice, 2 successes.
Oh, very nice. Yeah, so you as the coach gets the hell out of there as fast as possible, and the wheels are like, eventually that dies down, and you are able to hear...
2 wheels.
Exactly. I am getting the fuck out of here. Oh, thank you. And you can sort of hear conversation. It's not like robust kind of like ye old tavern kind of stuff, but you can hear there's people inside talking. You see lights coming through the windows. And you mostly see lights, on the first floor, but maybe you see a single light coming from the attic up on the third floor.
Okay. So it's creepy, but I don't necessarily expect anything nefarious. So I'll pull the collar back up, and I'll hustle through the rain over to the stables. And before I do that, I'll check my my pocket watch. And what time is it?
Let's say you're there a hair early. Let's say it's 9:45.
Okay. Damned cold out there. And I'll just kind of say without, introducing myself, but I'll run under the cover of the stable and say something to that effect.
So yeah, he nods and offers you a cigarette to warm up if you so choose.
Oh, please, I'm chilled to the core.
And as he does that, you see like Gertorn sort of, gets a pipe out of his inside coat pocket and sort of packs it in a little bit. And Olas, he's like, oh, brutal weather. I expect it to be getting colder this time of year. Let's say it's late fall. He's like, but this rain, this is what gets me every time. And just and then at that moment, like another blast of lightning. It seems very close. You can almost feel it. It almost shakes you. It's so close. And
I could write a dozen stories about this weather. And then now I'll extend a hand and say, Ernest Anderson.
And he goes, Olas Clint, I'm a big fan.
Well, Mr. Clint, pleasure to meet you. And I will reach into my coat pocket and I'll pull out his note. You must forgive me, I'm a little bit early, but...
He's like, oh, yes, no, that's perfectly fine. Yeah, I was just out here having a smoke. Just wanted to get away from being inside there for a little bit.
I must say, you didn't choose the coziest of places, although I am a fan of the dramatics.
And he's like, oh, yeah, no, there's, I hear you there. But there's a reason why I think we need to be here. And I think you might have an idea of what that might mean. And he's sort of looking at you.
Well, I must confess you have me caught a little bit off guard. Does it have anything to do with perhaps a shared acquaintance or someone you may have heard of? A gentleman named Oscar. I forgot didn't write down his last name, but...
Right. He's like, it might be, the matters that are often discussed on Thursdays. Yeah.
I see.
So yeah, you can sort of see like he too is, he's kind of shivering. His coat is a little, huh? Yeah. Money on the table. What are we talking about? And you can sort of see like he's sort of shivering in like a worn coat that's sort of soaked through a little bit.
Oh, good God, sir, you're soaked through. Let's get you in by the fire.
He's like, yeah, that's not a bad idea. You look quite soaked yourself.
I'm in far better shape than you, lad. Come in.
All right. So you head inside, and
apparently this is my Ernest Anderson voice. That I don't think was in existence last time.
I think we found it though, and I like it a lot.
A hurty-gurty. I don't know.
Oh, workshopping it. I like that. Keep going. All right. So you make your way into the inn, I take it?
Yeah, we'll run in again. I mean, he says there's something I should see here, but I didn't take it as a warning, and he didn't seem too hesitant to run inside. So again, call her up and hustle through the rain to the front door, and I won't knock or anything. I'll just swing it open.
Just swing it open. Okay, cool. Let me see if I can figure out how to do this. Okay, so are you? I guess I can look at. If you go to the tactical mode, we want to go to the map of the Witch Cat Inn. If you go down a little bit to where the dining room is, are you seeing a couple of tokens?
Yeah, and I can move that token. Can I not move this thing in the middle of my screen?
What's that?
My
your actual name?
Yeah.
That is a good question.
Anyways, I don't have to solve it tonight. I'll just move my map up.
What happens? I can't see. Is there? What happens if is there like a? No, and the middle one is to roll dice, right?
Yeah. That's okay.
Okay. It seems like there's got to be a way to not have that, like for all the thing about like, oh, it's about presentation and stuff like that, and you just got this shit all over the middle of the.
Right.
So what you do is, I guess I have to show them one at a time. So as you walk in, you sort of see everyone around. There's a number of guests staying at the inn. You see there's a woman in the kitchen. Of course, doing her thing. There's, let me see. Who's this? Samuel. Okay, so this gentleman would be behind the bar. This is a patron. I think that's a patron. Let me see if I actually put in some descriptions. Yeah, so you see this person here. I don't know if I can ping.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so he's sort of like, I think he's like a, who is that? Sven
Cruz?
Yeah, so he looks like he's sort of like an attendant here.
Okay.
That is who?
Lisa.
Okay, yeah, so she sort of looks like she's dressed a little bit more polished. Like, she might be not like wealthy, but more like she might be like a respected academic kind of person.
Okay.
That kind of place in society. This person,
Jonathan.
It's interesting. Like, for me, the name is hard to see.
That name, for some reason, I don't know why it's so faded out, but yeah, it is.
Okay. So he seems like he's a little inebriated. He doesn't seem like he's anybody fancy or anything, but he does seem like, he's kind of a little, you can see like there's like his face is a little flush. Maybe his nose is like a little red, the way like alcoholics get that sort of red, kind of busted up nose skin or whatever. And then, here you see like a man of the cloth, maybe he's sitting at the table sort of just picking out his dinner. And then you see here, this gentleman is, there we go. That gentleman is working, like, working the restaurant. He seems to be in charge. So
is he sitting at like behind a desk or a countertop of some sort, or?
Yeah, let's say there's like a bar.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
And he's helping with that.
All right. So now that we're inside and we enter the doorway, I'm sure, and he says, "Hola, should I check in with that gentleman over there, or?"
Yes. His name is Sammy Harjula, and yes, he's the innkeeper here. So if you want to check in, there should be a room in your name, and he can take care of you.
Oh, well, very good. Thank you for making those arrangements.
Oh, of course.
It's like, no, I mean, like, you still got, no.
Yeah, I mean,
too kind. That's too kind.
No, I guess it's on me. It's on me, I guess. Oh, okay, it's on me.
Good evening, sir. I am it is very welcoming to be in your warm, fine establishment this evening.
Mm-hmm.
I was hoping you may have a room available.
And he's like, yes, I do.
There may actually be a reservation. My name is Ernest Anderson.
Yes, it's Mr. Anderson. Yes, absolutely. Give me 1 second. And he starts fishing behind, like he's digging out for like a key. And as you have a moment to look around, like you suddenly realize, yes, it's nice to be out of the storm, but you're starting to notice like little pots everywhere, catching water dripping through the ceiling. You're noticing some of the like rafters that are holding up the roof seem to be, bowing a little bit. So, like outside I mentioned, like there's a building that completely collapsed. The stables aren't in great shape. The root cellar looks rough. And even as you come inside the inn, you're like, wow, okay.
Say, how long has this establishment been open?
And he's like, oh, there's a history, my father owned it before me. It goes back, in my family, and I hope someday that my daughter can own it, after I hand it to her.
He'll say something like under his breath, like, since the Viking Raiders, I see, or something stupid like that.
Yeah, something a little like, oh, man.
Yeah.
And he sort of doesn't quite seem to catch it, and he's, he then pulls out a key and is like, oh, here you go, sir. The rooms are upstairs on the second floor. But of course, there's still food in the kitchen if you need something to eat. I know you probably had a long trip because everything's a long trip from here.
Let me check in with my fellow travelers, and we may order some food. Question: is there any entertainment for the evening tonight?
He's like, no, we don't provide that kind of service here at the inn.
Okay. No shows or plays or performances like that.
And he starts to look at you for a second. He's like, no.
Oh, okay. Someone had once told me that if I'm ever in this area, that the performances are rather amusing.
And so now he's starting to look at you a little strangely. And
you know what? That was my cousin, and that was in Ostergotland. I'm so sorry.
He's like, no, we don't. No, we don't. We don't put shows on here.
Oh, did you ever have a pass of that? Because I see these, and he's like, now he's trying to like cover, but he also wants to know. So he's like, something you ever considered, or did you ever do it in the past?
And he's looking at you. You know what? Yeah, let's get a test going.
Sure.
What I want to do, I don't want to move you. I just want to see. Okay, view. This would be an observation roll. So why don't you give me an observation roll?
Okay.
Okay. Is that something you'd want to push in any capacity? Okay. So he just seems. The main vibe you're getting off of him is confusion. Like he's like, "Why are you talking about shows?"
Well, if we get hungry, I'm sure, but very good. I'll be sure to let you know if I need anything.
Nice. All right, and so he sort of like hands you your key, and then maybe he asks Sven. He sort of calls him over and says, bring these gentlemen's, the small chest that Gertrude loaded onto the wagon in your overnight bag. He brings those upstairs for you.
Ah, very good, sir. I'll toss him nothing exorbitant, but a nice little shekel,
little something.
Mm-hmm.
Little Swedish something. Okay. And and so he sort of appreciatively, nods and, brings your trunk. That's not chest, a trunk. He brings that stuff upstairs and he disappears for a moment.
Okay. I'll make my way over to Olas, and I'm assuming Olas and Gertrude have found a table next to the fire.
Yes. Yeah. And maybe even, maybe some of these people, they sort of see how soaked you are to the bone, because they haven't been caught out in the storm. And so maybe they, like, out of politeness, they, give you some space near the fire, and sort of the priest father, the father sort of gestures and, please, son, you need to get some warmth in those bones. Why don't you come over here? Dry off a little.
I thank him, of course. And I do take like space away from him. I don't want to sit right next to these people. I want to like be able to talk to Olas privately. I do take a look at the father's dinner plate, and like, how does the food look?
I'll say this, like, I wouldn't say it's like licked clean, but it looks like maybe I don't know, maybe some lamb or something. I feel bad, like I don't know shit about anything. But yeah, it looks like, it was like a an expected level of okay dinner.
Okay. Like nothing like weird or
no.
Okay. So I'll go up to Olas, and I think we have accommodations for the evening, which will be welcomed as long as this place stays standing. Olas, I do have to admit, and I'll pull out the invitation and lay it on the table. I inquired about tonight's performance, and our host seemed very confused.
It was like interesting. He's like, did you show him the notice?
No. When he seemed confused, I figured I'd best keep this to myself, and then I'll put it back in my pocket.
Interesting. Okay. Well, he's like, yeah, it's interesting. I've been finding these notices sort of in a few different places in Uppsala. I'm not sure how they got there. And I'll tell you that this is not my first visit here to the Witch Cat Inn. I found these notices in Uppsala earlier this week. And I decided I was going to, again, matters of the Thursday. I came across the name Oscar Hjort, and the connection potentially to this inn, and so I stayed here. And I have to tell you, it was one of the most unsettling nights I've had in a long, long time.
And while he's talking, I'm like, I'd kind of been like looking around the room and like listening, but then like I turn like, Olas, perhaps you could have mentioned that before I secured accommodations, but please do tell. You have my attention.
Yeah. He's like, yes. So, basically, I talked to Linnea, and I inquired about Oscar Hjort, and she mentioned she, how she is. She's not completely herself anymore, and and she mentioned that the name Oscar was familiar to her, and so and then I started wondering what this play was about, and so I came down here, and it wasn't put on yet. I don't know exactly what's going to happen. So I just sort of, again, like you, I didn't want to tip my hand. So I just spent the night. I obliquely asked about performances and didn't get any information either. And then I spent the night there, and like I said, there was just a power that I felt. It was really disturbing, and it makes me feel like there's something going on here at the Witch Cat Inn beyond advertisements for a show and, a member of the society that came here 50 years ago.
That wind ambiance hit at the perfect time of you saying that you feel like something else is going on here.
Nice.
Very interesting. So I am assuming that there was no shadow performance, at least one that you could observe.
I have not seen one yet. But like I said, I've seen these flyers in a few different places, and but I don't know who to ask about it.
Outside of Mr. Harjula, do any of the individuals you see here tonight, were they present here earlier in the week or on any of your past visits?
And he looks around, and he's like that drunk guy over there. Yeah.
Very interesting. Have you introduced yourself to him yet?
Small talk. He mentioned that his name was Jonathan Neese. But and that he's a local. Maybe he's a farmer here nearby. And he often comes here, for a drink and a little bit of food.
But our esteemed father and other guests, the madame, they are unfamiliar to you?
Yeah, they weren't here when I was here earlier this week. They must be newer guests.
Interesting. Very, very interesting. Oh. Seeing as the show has not begun yet, perhaps I'll introduce myself to Mr. Neese.
Okay. Yeah, so you sort of see him like...
Are we doing apps, by the way? Should we just go ahead before happy hour's over? Like, should we just go ahead and get an order in?
Something for the table, right? What are you thinking?
Yeah, it's surely this place has wings, right?
I would think so. Yes, they would probably be emu wings.
Very good. Yes, please. You guys order that and blue cheese only, of course.
Of course.
So he'll step over. Good evening, sir. Are you keeping warm in this most delightfully chilling weather?
And he kind of looks at you, and you can tell like he's 3 sheets to the wind.
Lordy.
And he's like, oh, absolutely keeping warm. You have to start, warmth comes from the inside. And he sort of holds up like a glass of like cheap brandy and sort of takes a sip from it.
And maybe it's like mostly dry. And I say, well, Mr. Jonathan, I don't tip my hand that I know his name. Well, sir, I tell you, nothing warms me more than drinking with good company. And I could use some warming up. Can I buy you a drink?
And he looks at you like, sir, you are speaking my language. And absolutely will take you up on that.
Peach schnapps?
And he's like, yeah. Haven't had that in a few days.
I don't know why that popped in my head. The official beverage, Black
Of BLTN.
Peach schnapps. Very good, sir. So, what brings you to this weary inn on this cold and chilling evening? Are you from here, or are you traveling?
Like, oh, no, I'm from nearby. Honestly, I go just as far back in this area as our old friend Sammy over there, and he sort of nods over to the innkeeper. And he's like,
I'll raise my peach schnapps. He maybe the innkeeper's like INS, and I'll raise my peach schnapps at him.
Nice. And he sort of looks at you, and he sort of looks at Jonathan, and he sort of looks at him like a little bit of judgy, just kind of like, okay, like he just sort of shakes his head a little bit, and like a familiar kind of judgy, like I've seen him get hammered like this before. And
not threatening though, or anything like that.
No, not at all. Just like, okay, here we go again.
My name is Ernest.
He's like, oh, pleasure to meet you, sir. My name is, of course, Jonathan Neese, and I'm at your service. Very, very classy. The buying a round of peach schnapps, little boons.
Say, Mr. Jonathan, my good buddy, my good sir. I'm a little bit of a writer. You may or may not know that. I'm actually here because a good friend of mine told me that I could find a great source of inspiration in the performances in this area. Do you know if there's performances here or in the town nearby? And I know that there's not in the town nearby. I'm playing dumb, right? But
Right.
I was actually hoping to maybe catch something thrilling tonight. The weather seems perfect for a good chill, a good thrill.
And he looks at you for a moment, and he then sort of gets like a sad expression in his eyes. And he's like, oh, performance here? No, not under Sammy's watch. No. Unfortunately, the performer in this family was his dear beloved, his late wife. God rest her soul.
What kind of performances did she do?
And he's sort of like, oh, she was lovely. She was very much the artist. Very much, they were traveling acting troupes, and she would try and bring those through. But Sammy was always against it. He was very much against anything like that, and Nora was always that sort of artistic free spirit.
Did she ever do puppet performances by any chance?
Puppet performances. That's interesting that you should mention that. And he sort of says, maybe, yeah, she maybe have mentioned that a little bit before her strange final days.
Please, and I'm typically not one for the scuttlebutt, but you certainly have me intrigued. Strange final days.
Oh, it was really quite sad. I don't know, honestly. I don't know what the history was between. I should say, I've known Sammy for years. At one point, we could even say we were closest of friends, but not so much these days anymore. I guess, which saddens me a little bit. But
Jonathan, this is all very interesting. You know what we could use? We could use another round, and my friends and I just ordered some wings. What if we all gathered together? I'm sure they would love to hear a thrilling story like this on such a haunting evening.
Nice. Wings, you say? Huzzah. And and so he, sort of gestures and lets you take the lead over to the table where the plate of I love that wings are going to be a part of our lexicon for the rest
forever.
Of our days.
Yeah. Little did you know that buffalo wings were invented in just south of Uppsala, Sweden.
That's right.
Of course, it wasn't chicken at the time. As Art indicated, it's emu wings. Right. And so, like, one drumstick is actually like the Flintstones, like, like helping of meat.
Right.
Sauce everywhere.
Right. And so for the people who don't know, what this means is that this game now takes place in the universe of Matt's Alien game.
Yeah, this is
It's all connected.
the first space chilies.
Exactly.
The Sammy Harjula's family would go on to found chilies.
Nice. So now we have to play Coriolis so that we can actually have a proper space chilies in
Exactly.
Black Lodge. Okay.
Anyway,
so-
but I do, all seriousness aside, I do kind of work this into whether we have apps or not. But maybe I'll be like, you know what, my friends are looking a little bit dry. I could use another round, and this would be on me. Perhaps you'd like to share this story with all of us.
It's like, oh, of course. And you can tell, obviously, yeah, he's 3 sheets to the wind, so he's very chatty. And he sort of looks over at Sammy. And, obviously he just mentioned that maybe they were once closest friends, not so much anymore.
Mm-hmm.
And so, remembering that, now he's a little, I don't know if pissed is the right word, but I don't know if you know what I mean, but like, he's like, wait, like that asshole was my good friend. Now he doesn't give me the time, but yeah, okay, I'll tell you. What do you want to know? And he starts to tell you like, oh yeah, and maybe he even says it a little bit too loud so Sammy can hear him over on the side.
Mm.
And, so he says, oh, Nora was a lovely, lovely woman, free spirit, very much the artist. And she, but there was always something about her art that really rubbed Sammy the wrong way. And as he's saying these things, you know that Sammy can hear you.
Mm.
And so he's sort of looking up and he's like drying a glass, but he's trying to be a little, I don't know if professional is the right word. He doesn't know where this is going, but he's not happy about the fact that this is being discussed.
Interesting.
And so, so Jonathan continues and he's like, yeah. And, maybe it wasn't quite a year ago. I don't know if it was more than 6 months, less than a year. I couldn't tell you the exact date. My memory's not so. And then he takes another big gulp of peach schnapps. My memory's not what it used to be. And it's getting to the point where it's like, not sure his eyes are dilating correctly. And he looks at you and he said, but there was, there's this terrible fight. It lasted for days. And I remember I was in here. And then with that, Sammy slams his glass down that he's been cleaning.
Mm.
And he's, yells, Jonathan, you do not mention her name in your, don't have her name in your mouth. You do not disrespect my wife. Stop the spreading a tale. Stop the
Will
gossip.
Smith.
What's that?
Said, okay, Will Smith.
Right. So he's very much like, we will not be talking about, my beloved wife that way in my home.
Mr. Harjula, I will make sure that it does not happen again. So sorry for the insult.
And he sort of nods, and he's more looking at Jonathan like, why don't you shut up? Like, this is part of why I don't talk to you anymore. So Jonathan with that, he sort of looks a little sheepish because again, I think he'd want to still be friends with Sammy, and he's saddened that whatever happened has happened.
So he never really got to the point of like the mysterious last few days before that happened.
No, he didn't. He didn't, at least in that part of the story.
Well, I don't want to piss off Sammy anymore, and I feel like if we start talking in hushed tones, like that's going to be
right,
suspicious.
Okay.
Well, gentlemen, and maybe the conversation dies down and Jonathan, wanders back.
Mm-hmm.
And as we get the three of us alone, I don't know if you gentlemen have had any more luck than I, but I have found no reference to any performances tonight, assuming that this invitation is even for tonight, is even current.
Right. And Ola said, yes, that is something I was wondering, just what night are they referring to? But, like you, I have not expressly, whipped out the brochure to inquire. But
do they usually, in the past, have they let you stay down here in the dining room past closing?
I feel like yes, they say like, they let the fire burn out, and if you want to stay by it, you can. They don't chase you away, but they do obviously say, like everything, there's no services provided, but you're welcome to the fire while it lasts.
Well, that may be an option for us. We could let the fire die down tonight and see what happens if you have not tried that route. We could investigate the grounds, although, and he peers out the window and it's just like sheet of rain maybe or something like that.
Yeah.
I'm not particularly fond of that idea. Or we could turn in for the evening and see what happens, but
yeah, so Olas is like, well, yeah, I mean, I think you're right. Those are sort of our options. I mean, we could put our cards on the table and see what happens with this invite. Or if we want to keep that close to the vest. And while he's talking, you see the priest, the father, sort of looking at you. And, when he watches Jonathan sort of wander away. And when he does that, the priest sort of takes that sort of to casually, like he's sort of looking at a painting on the wall, but he's in earshot. And he's like, "Are you asking? I heard you, asking about Nora. Are you looking into her passing?"
It was not anything in particular we're looking into. It's just, well, I'm one for the theatrics, and on a haunted evening such as tonight, I would love a bone-chilling tale.
He's like, yes. I might have something I can share with you, but I don't want to be disrespectful to the proprietor. So meet me. He's like, meet me like in an hour, like at the stable. And maybe I know the weather is terrible, but that way we can be out of earshot, and we'll talk then.
Interesting. Very well, Father. And I'll check my pocket watch, and I'll say like, I have a quarter past the hour.
He's like, perfect. And he's like, and I think his idea is just like, let's let things calm down a little bit. And with that, we will, with that mention of meeting later, we will fade to black.
Awesome.
There we go. So, a little behind the curtain, like, I was coming in, I was coming in pretty hot. And I really, it makes me appreciate, we're playing Pathfinder at the moment. I'm prepping a spy game, which is Mithras. Both are a little bit more mechanically heavy systems.
Right.
There's a real like sort of breath of fresh air to have a system that's lean, elegant, just does exactly what it needs to do. And for when like you don't have, if I had to really remaster all the rules of a dense game, I would have felt uncomfortable given how crazy things have been.
Oh, so yeah, like coming in hot. Yeah, it's easier to come in hot with something like this, but still have it be, we're not running like something super light. Like it's got meat on its bones, but you also, I get what you mean.
Yeah, and the great thing is because I know that it's a really interesting story. So all I need, the thing I really focus on is let me reread the story because it's an interesting one, and the mechanics will get out of the way and they'll figure itself out.
For sure. Yeah, I really enjoyed it. I'm very, very interested.
Nice. All right. Well, I guess with that, maybe we'll wrap it up. If you're watching this on YouTube, we really appreciate it. You've already found our YouTube channel. So if you want, you can like and subscribe. You can join us in our Discord if you prefer audio versions of our actual plays or our RPG discussion topics. Just search for Black Lodge Trivia Night wherever you get your podcasts, and we should show up. You can leave reviews there if you want. I think I mentioned join us in our Discord. Link should be in the show notes. Follow us on Twitter. Follow us on Blue Sky if you want. But otherwise, I think that just about covers it. Anything else that I'm forgetting?
I don't think so.
Cool. All right. Well, then, Matt, thanks again for jumping in. And I look forward to getting some more Vaesen in under our belt.
All right. Yeah, me too. Definitely looking forward to it. Thank you.
All right. Take care.
Good night, everyone.
Good night.